It's the beginning of another week. Good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Aniyusabata Desawe Kanda. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Okanse. Tonight, multiple petitioners call for the heads of the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the Electoral Commission of Ghana as Presidency confirms forwarding petitions to the Chief Justice. We explore the likely next steps. So stay with us on Ghana Tonight on this matter. Stakes are high as Asantino 2482 the second wraps up mediation of the Boko conflict. Roadmap to peace expected to be announced soon. We're live in the Ashanti region for some details. Stay with us. We're just looking into what's happening in Menshaw over the period. Throughout the day we've been there, so we have some exclusive detail for you. Also, we'll stay on the 2025 West Africa Senior School Certificate Examination, that's WASSCE results, which have drawn reactions from various quarters. We'll speak to the West African Examination Council and the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, two critical stakeholders in this particular issue. They are our guests tonight, helping us to understand what all of this means and what the thinking should be going forward. We have this and more, including an update on the Mandai election dispute. You're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Some members from the Kusog and Mamprosi ethnic groups have resolved to accept the outcome from the Otumfuo-led Boko conflict mediation. However, tension erupted just at the dying minutes of the final day of mediation, leading to a swift pleas and military intervention. President Mahama has directed Ghana Education Trust Get Fund to release funds for the construction of two boarding facilities and staff accommodation at the John Evans Atta Senior High School in Ekumfi, Otuam. The directive follows a TV3 expose highlighting critical infrastructural challenges at the school. The new projects are expected to be completed within 12 months.
The development project for which we cut sword on 4th November 2025 will be completed within a record time of 12 months. And these are not minor additions, they are transformative investments. They include a fully furnished 3-bedroom accommodation for the headmaster, a modern boys' dormitory, a modern girls' dormitory, an ultra-modern library and computer laboratory, a multi-purpose dining hall, and a state-of-the-art administration block.
Government is engaged in ongoing discussions with drone delivery service Zipline regarding the future of its critical medical supply contract. Health Minister Kwabena Minta Kando says despite public scrutiny and parliamentary pressure, a decision on whether to determine the partnership has not yet been reached.
We have 6 centers, so we are paying a little over $500,000 every month for the services of the drones. What is more interesting, and I think everybody needs to know, is the fact that in the beginning of this contract, the idea was that we were not going to use government of Ghana money to pay, but upon review of the activities, what we have realized is that the hard-to-reach areas constitute only 12% of the activities. 12%.
The president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, Angel Carbonu, is calling for an urgent review of the country's education system to prevent what it describes as a looming collapse.
The system we are running, is it beneficial to our children? Is it aiding proper teaching and learning? Are we producing students who understand what they have studied to become worthwhile citizens of our society? Education should be reviewed regularly. Education is like life. You review life so as to enhance your wherewithal for the betterment of tomorrow.
The Bank of Ghana is set to announce a new capital requirement framework for non-interest banking and finance, commonly known as Islamic banking. The disclosure was made by an advisor to the central bank, Professor John Gachi, at the 2025 Continuous Professional Development and Induction Seminar organized by the Association of Certified Chartered Economists in Ghana.
We expect some windows to be established. We also expect some fully fledged non-interest bank to be established. I'm aware some conventional banks are upbeat about establishing a window, and that will definitely happen.
That's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're also live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. We're also, as always, proudly brought to you by Flamingo Paint, simply superior, such insecticide spray and call, Tum Preco. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, a long-awaited peace roadmap is expected soon in the Boko conflict, and we're live in the Ashanti region. That's the epicenter of this entire peace effort because of the Otumfuo Osei-led mediation team. That's where they've been doing quite some work, a lot of work over the period. And indeed, earlier today, some members from the Kosol and the Mamproshi ethnic groups resolved to accept the outcome from the Otumfuo-led Boko conflict mediation efforts. They have committed to accept the outcome. However, tensions erupted just at the dying minutes of the final day, that's today, of the mediation, leading to a swift police and military intervention. Now, let's hear the atmosphere of what happened earlier today. And all of this was at the frontage or the entrance of the Menchia Palace, where this Otumfuo-led mediation talks, that's this team, have been sitting for a while now, trying to strategize, meet, compromise, and to find lasting peace for this Boko conflict, this protracted conflict. William Evans Inkum is our Northern Bureau Chief, and he's been lurking around the Menchia Palace earlier today. In fact, this video we just showed you is one that he got because he's been around the area since morning, observing exactly what's happening. He's connecting with us on Zoom right now. William, appreciate you as always. Now, just give us a clear idea of the video we just saw. What was it about, really? Because you spoke to some of them. What did they tell you?
Well, so this was just a flash one. They were just at the peripheral areas of the Menchia Palace. They could not get access to even the precinct, to the Jubilee Hall where the actual mediation was happening. And, well, we just heard some skirmishes, which has to do with the fact that a member of one of the ethnic groups actually ran a motorcycle on one of them, igniting some level of tension. But the military and the police were swift because they were just close. I mean, from my position, the Kusao was standing on the right position, and then that of the Mamprugu or the Mampusis on the left. Between them, just a few steps, about 15 steps away. And so, I mean, they were that close, and that particular tension erupted. So the military had to quickly, and the police had to quickly come in order to avert what probably would have looked like an escalation. But right after that, just some few minutes, then we heard jubilation. Both parties were jubilating. It was just around the time that the delegates or the leadership representing the two ethnic groups were exiting the Menchia Palace. Well, again, we're a bit confused as to what might have sparked that wild jubilation, but we were only getting from them that, well, they probably may have been hearing certain information that possibly was going their way. But Menchia hasn't released any official statement as to whether, there has been a position taken as far as the current impasse is concerned. Alfred.
I see. Now, beyond this earlier skirmishes and what we're seeing there, you say that they committed to accept the outcome of the mediation led by Otumfuo Osei to the second after what we just saw?
Well, absolutely. So I spoke to some of the supporters, not the leadership who were with Otumfuo, in the Jubilee Hall where mediation was happening, because we did not get any opportunity to engage any of them because, they had moved in a bus. But of course, some vehicles right after the talks, they were, marched straight, or they walked straight into their various vehicles. They left the place. So there was no even room for any media engagement. But the supporters, we engaged them just to gauge the mood and also understand their sentiment, whether they are ready for whatever outcome that will emerge from Otumfuo's mediation. And they tell me that they are ready because they reveal Otumfuo, and for that matter, they believe that whatever agreement that they reach or he reaches with the parties is something that will inure to the overall benefits of Bawku. So they are ready to accept whatever outcome that will emerge from that particular meeting. But we do not know, I cannot tell the position of the leadership who represented both ethnic groups, of course, those who were with the Santekene, because we've not had any opportunity to engage them directly.
I see. Now, we're seeing, heavily armed military police personnel at the entrance, and then also you give us a sneak preview into the foyer and some of the buildings within the Menchia Palace. We saw some notable persons going in there as well to help in the process. That video that we just saw earlier, and in fact, just give us, beyond what we are seeing on the TV, an idea of the atmosphere there earlier today when you stayed for the most part of the day there. What was going on?
So let me begin with security. Security was tightened compared to previous mediation process or previous meetings that I have reported. And you will understand because You remember some time ago, there were some clashes at, I wouldn't want to call it clashes, but there were some incidents at Asumase where 2 people died. Well, one was shot at close range. In that same week, another person was shot in a situation that some describe as reprisal. The police is yet to provide any official report as far as their investigation is concerned, but there's some level of speculation that that particular incident could be linked to the Boko conflict. And so if you're talking about Asumase where the incident happened and then Menchia, it's just a stone throw. So it was understandable that we're going to see, heavy security presence, especially the final day of mediation, because anything at all could happen. And maybe the thinking of tightening security, the committee wasn't far from right, because there were some skirmishes, and that needed the police and military to act swiftly to avert escalation, as we saw not too long ago. Now, beyond security, we also saw some notable personalities. For instance, Kletos Aboka, one of the very person that is easily identified as far as political discourse in this country is concerned, former member of parliament, Fosibila, he was there. And of course, some former members of parliament, even from the opposition, MPP. Then, of course, we also saw the MCE for Boko, District Chief Executive for Garu, and they were all there. They were all there. Garu, yes, they were all there. And among other leadership as far as the traditional authority is concerned, for both ethnic groups.
Wonderful. Appreciate you for this detail. Thank you so much. William Evans Nkum is our Northern Bureau Chief, and just trust that we're going to be there. We'll be updating you every step of the way. Today was the last day from the details that William Evans Nkum gave to us. So from tomorrow, we're going to be observing how things play out. But the good news we pick out of this is that commitment to abide and, in fact, accept the details of this particular mediation process. But we have eyes in Boko as well, because, and this is it, we're going to show you what's happening right now. Even though there's commitment to accept the outcome of this mediation, the military is not leaving anything to chance. There have been some checkpoints that have been set up in strategic places in the Boko enclave. And so yesterday we got news of, some skirmishes that has been also quelled. There's been relative peace that has been restored in the area. This was just a very small situation that was handled. Well, the information we get on the ground is that the military have set up strategic checkpoints on some of the streets in the Boko municipality as well. So they have a hold on what is happening in there, assuring the people, especially the Boko residents, of peace and their presence to ensure law and order as well. So that's the situation on the ground. But this is one we'll keep an eye on here on Ghana Tonight. But coming up next, pressure is mounting as the multiple petitioners target the special prosecutor and the Electoral Commission leadership. And that's what's coming up here on Ghana Tonight. And earlier today, we got news of the Chief Justice, Paul Bafo-Boni, is preparing to decide whether a case exists against Special Prosecutor Kisi Jabing and the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jane Adokwa-Mensah, and her 2 deputies, following the president's referral of removal petitioners. That's the petition that he's received to the office of the Chief Justice. We understand in total the presidency confirmed receiving 10 petitions so far, and forwarding same to the Chief Justice as required by law. Now, TV3 sources indicate that 7 of these petitions were filed by private citizens, calling for the removal of the Electoral Commission chairperson and her 2 deputies, 7 of them. And then the remaining 3 petitions target the Special Prosecutor, Kessie Jabing, alleging various forms of misconduct by the leaders of the 2 institutions. But what's the procedure for the removal of these persons we're talking about? You remember Hassan Tampoli had a couple of weeks ago indicated that per his information, 15 petitions had been sent to the presidency for the removal of Kessie Jabing, the Special Prosecutor. Well, what we have information this morning from the presidency earlier this morning is that there were 3 that have been received and in fact forwarded to the Chief Justice, 7 against the EC chairperson and her deputies. That makes up the 10 petitions that we're talking about. But this is what we do know, the position of the law and the removal of the Special Prosecutor. This is captured in specifically the Office of Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959. The Special Prosecutor shall not be removed from office except 1, A, stated misbehavior or incompetence. And if you followed the process of the removal of the Chief Justice or the former Chief Justice, this particular one in here, this condition for the removal of the OSP is also one you would find in Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, stated misbehavior or incompetence, incapacity to perform the functions of the office by reason of infirmity of body or mind, willful violation of the official oath or oath of secrecy. D, conduct which brings or is likely to bring the office of Special Prosecutor into disrepute, ridicule or contempt, or is prejudicial or inimical to the economy or security of the state. I need to follow this closely. And then a person who seeks to remove the Special Prosecutor from office shall submit a petition to the President. So that this one has been done as far as what we know and has actually been officially and publicly stated by the presidency is concerned. And the Abu Rasebu Kwamankese, Member of Parliament, the Minister in charge of Government Communications, Phyllis Kwachufo, so did confirm this, these petitions that we're talking about. So indeed, this first requirement has been fulfilled. They submitted the petitions to the President. Where the President receives a petition for the removal of the Special Prosecutor, the President shall, within 7 days, refer the petitions to the Chief Justice, who shall, within 30 days, determine whether there's a prima facie case. So look at the timelines carefully. Where the President receives a petition for the removal of the Special Prosecutor, the President shall, within 7 days, refer the petition to the Chief Justice. And we don't have any clear information as to when the President received the petitions, but to the extent that it's been forwarded to the Chief Justice means that the President has fulfilled this first requirement of the timeline. We also don't have an idea as to when exactly the petitions were forwarded to the Chief Justice so as to be able to count the 30 days. But we do know that the petitions have been forwarded to the Chief Justice, who shall, within 30 days, determine whether there is a prima facie case. And this is very different from the process for the removal of the Chief Justice. Now, where the Chief Justice determines that there is a prima facie case, the Chief Justice shall, within 14 days, set up a committee consisting of A, chairperson who is a justice of the Supreme Court, B, a lawyer of at least 15 years standing at the bar, and C, one other person with expertise in investigation. And in fact, a lawyer who is 15 years at the bar qualifies to be appointed as a Supreme Court justice. 5, the committee shall, within 90 days, investigate the matter and make it its recommendation to the President through the Chief Justice. The President shall act in accordance with the recommendations of the committee. Now, that last part is consistent with what we saw also in the removal process of the Chief Justice. The President shall just act in accordance with the recommendations of the committee. That is what the President is expected to do, and he doesn't have an opinion whether or not he agrees with them. Okay? Now, we have the Chief Justice, in fact, the Office of Special Prosecutor earlier today, they've been making a strong case for themselves in terms of the achievements that they have made. That is the OSP, that's Kessie Agyapong, while he's been in office over the period. Now, it's one thing that we've seen play out in a very, very interesting way, especially because just when this calls for the removal of the OSP heightened, and we saw Martin Kpebu, private legal practitioner, has been forceful in that regard. We've had the likes of Manasseh Azuria when they also asked questions of the special prosecutor right from the weekend on Key Point and how things have been flowing from then till now. The special prosecutor has put out his office, as a matter of fact, has put out something in terms of, they say, their achievement over the period. They're making a case for themselves. They say the OSP has reached 9.4 million people through prevention, focus work, 9.4 million. That's huge. If you look at our population as a country, you're talking about, about 30%, almost. Now, Youth Against Corruption, and they talk about the impact, they've outlined it there. They say direct recoveries. They say the OSP, per their records, they say they've recovered over 6.5 million Ghana cedis, and then $2 million. And they state the sources for the recoveries: 106,319 from payroll audit restitution. That's like clearing ghost names, okay? So, but then beyond this, the questions asked as to what exactly happened to those ghosts, the people who were receiving money in the names of these ghosts. Any prosecutions? That's the question that was asked. Now, 206,000 from plea bargains, 6.9 million Ghana cedis from petroleum product diversion investigation, $2 million recovered for MIIF, as a Minerals Income and Investment Fund from the gold trading program, $2 million. So this recoveries, just that $2 million is from MIIF alone. Now, asset seizures, we talk about over 102 million Ghana cedis worth of assets seized pending confiscation proceedings. Many more assets seized are yet to be valued by STC, from luxury cars to houses to bullion vans. And then they talk about the national and regional engagement. They say the OSP educated 448 professionals and all those others. Now, that as to whether this is weighty a matter enough to make a case for them is another issue altogether that we'll get into shortly. But we'll take our eyes off the ball a bit on this. We'll go matters on education quickly, and that's going to coming up next, because a lot of reactions have come to this matter relating to the release of the 2025 WASSCE results. That's coming up next, which continues to spark nationwide reaction from different cortices. Tonight, we hear from the West African Examination Council and the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, on this particular development, and also some reactions to it. This 2025 WASSCE results have received various reactions, and the president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, that's the National Association of Graduate Teachers, I beg your pardon, NAGRAT, Angel Kabono, is calling for an urgent review of the country's education system to prevent what it describes as a looming collapse of the education system in this country based on, the outcome of these results. And this is what Angel Kabano had to say to Daniel Opoku earlier today.
The system we are running, is it beneficial to our children? Is it aiding proper teaching and learning? Are we producing students who understand what they have studied to become worthwhile citizens of our society? Education should be reviewed regularly. Education is like life. You review life so as to enhance your wherewithal for the betterment of tomorrow. Please, politicians should hands off education and allow professionals to run education in this country. The sole financiers of education is the taxpayer. The politicians are just the conduit through which the money passes.
That's Angel Kabano there. As I indicated, we just put a brief freeze on this OSP and EC petitions matter. We'll come back to it in a bit. But this is it. Here's what we do know in terms of the WASSCE 2025 results that have stoked a lot of conversation. 461,736 candidates sat for this. And in terms of the results, specific English language, we tracked it right from 2022 till now. You see, from 2022 was just about 60% in terms of the pass rate. And in fact, there are some the stakeholders in the education sector who say, look, to understand the bigger picture of this situation, don't look at the pass rate alone. So we're going to drill that, but stay with me closely. There is 73.1 in 2023, and then reduced a bit to 69.5. That's for English, pass rate. The emphasis is on the pass rate. Then integrated science, pass rate, at least over the last 4 years, this year was the lowest. And then mathematics, the lowest. In fact, it's the mathematics that has stoked a lot of conversation. And that there's worrying, staggering numbers of students who failed mathematics. And a number of the papers, we understand, are also being reviewed by the West African Examination Council. And so if you look at the individual subjects, 2025, in terms of percentage, represents the lowest pass rate from maths, English, the core subjects as well. Now, Thomas Tanko Musa is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, and then also John Kapi, who speaks for the West African Examination Council, WAEC, is joining us right now for a quick conversation on this. Mr. Kapi, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. And Mr. Tanko, if you could just hold on a bit for me. Mr. Kapi, first off, with what we have seen now and what the GES has also put out, GES says this is a reflection of the students, exactly what they put in. Why? Because there was a reduction in the malpractice, which over the years they say may have also contributed to the pass rate. Mr. Kapi.
Well, if you look at the results that we've brought out or we've published so far, clearly that for us is a reflection of the children's performance, because we are the ones who deal with the scripts directly. We are the ones who collect the marks, and then we are the ones who also award the grades. So I would say, yes, that is a reflection of the candidate's performance.
I see. I talk about the fact of the candidate's performance. Then this is it. There's this other one as well that they reference, that something to do with what the former education minister, Dr. Yawase Duchum, said in his engagement with some media houses. They say that the controller, this is a statement from the Ghana Education Service, the Controller and Accountants General Department has publicly clarified reasons for non-payment of November allowances. They urge the public to disregard what Dr. Yawase Duchum said regarding the 2025 WASSCE results and treat them as an attempt to shift focus from his shortcomings in managing the examination process. This is the GES statement. They also say that they view the 2025 WASSCE results as a true reflection of academic performance of the candidate. So this is a true reflection of it. Because prior to the exams, Mr. Kapi, the Ministry of Education and the GES issued a statement or a firm directive that any teacher or official found aiding or abetting the malpractice during the exams would face strong sanctions. And this was vigorously or rigorously enforced. Is this reflective of your position as well?
Well, I would say that for this year, we did a few things before the examination. First of all, we did a stakeholder engagement across the country where we tried to sensitize people against the menace of examination malpractices. Besides that, we also increased our presence across the country. We had an increased number of examination monitors. We also had an increased number of our own staff who were out there. I would want to say that there were also a few staff of the Ghana Education Service, including the Director General himself, who also went out there to monitor. Then we had whistleblowers, very, very positive step, whistleblowers who drew our attention to things happening in some of the areas. And indeed, when we sent our personnel, we realized that whatever they were reporting was true. So I would say that we deployed a lot of people, but I think that at a press meeting that I attended, the minister was emphatic about the fact that they would deal decisively with any teacher who misconducts himself in the course of the examination. So, well, I believe that with these words and the sensitization that we also did, we were able to have people realize that there was a need for them to allow the children to do independent work.
I see. But this portion of the GES statement, and Mr. Kapi, I'm going to read out to you, and also for the benefit of those listening to us on radio, management of GES views the 2025 WASSCE results that we are all crying about and, putting all meanings to it, stoking conversation. They say they view the results as a true reflection of academic performance of the candidates. And that really, this is just because previously examination malpractice contributed to their pass rates being that high in the past years. Mr. Gabi?
If you look at the figures that we brought out this year, we still had quite a high number of irregularities. We have had to cancel the entire results of a number of candidates. We had about 653. It is higher than last year's figure. We also had subject results cancelled, about 6,295. So clearly there was also a high number, and then we have a lot of scripts that we are scrutinizing in the office at the moment. So if you look at the statistics that we brought out, we have clearly indicated that these are the the statistics of published results of the core subjects. So it means that there's a possibility that the pass rate could go up because of maybe some of the people whom after our investigations may be found not culpable. So I would say that, well, much as we were able to send out a lot more people, we still recorded a number of irregularities, so that we've got to be able to balance it in such a way that we are cautious in concluding that this is a success story. It is work in progress, if you ask me.
I say, Mr. Kapi, hold on a bit for me. Thomas Musa Tanko is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. I have a stable connection to you now. Thank you for joining us. What's your own reading? The National Association of Teachers, you're an integral part of this entire education system we're talking about, and this WASSCE results as well, because your members taught the students. What's your own reading of what we are all crying about now?
Good evening, my brother. I think since WAEC released the results, there have been several scenarios, opinions, and commentaries on the results that were released by the West African Examination Council. Normally, when the results are released, depending upon the outcome, if the difference between what has been released now is not that great to the previous ones, normally people don't complain. that when people start complaining like what we have now, what we do is that you wait for the chief examiner's report. Because the chief examiner's report, the starting point should be the releasing of the results. Then the next point is the chief examiner's report. Now, if you look at the chief examiner's report, that will then lead me to the third one. The chief examiner's report normally will do some kind of trend analysis and give reasons why we are where we are today. So take, for example, if you want to do the trend analysis from 2016 to date, you will realize that the 2015 one that we are talking about now, we have been here before. We have been here before. Check that of the 2017. You realize that the requirement needed to go to any tertiary institution, which is the A1 to C6. In 2017, those who passed the English language was 52.24%. And if you look at the integrated science, integrated science was 52.8. Then if you look at the social studies, mathematics, we are 41.66. Then the last one, the social studies, where we are 42.52. In the same way, if you look at the 2018, it follows like that. We are 46.79. You are 50.48. That's for integrated science. Then when you come to mathematics, we have 30.15. Then if you look at the last one, social studies, we have 73.25. So within the past 10 years, trend analysis will tell us that the best period has been 2023. That is when we had at least over 60% of the students getting more than the 60% of the A1 to C6, helping them. That means they qualify to go to the tertiary institution. Then I think the next one should be the 2022. So if you look at the trend carefully, the 2025 one is not the worst in the past 10 years. At least it should be about the 7th or the 6th, if based upon the trend analysis, it should be about the 7th or the 6th. How come that we've gone low at this particular point in time? And that is why that is the reason why we would need the chief examiner's report at this particular time. And the chief examiner will do a detailed work as to why this kind of failure. In fact, the way we have the majority of the people failing is mathematics. Because in 2025, the pass mark of the percentage people, those who had the A1, between A1 to 66, they were 48.73%. So that is what has generated this heated argument and all the discussions on the airwaves and the media landscape. So we all need to wait.
We wait for the chief examiner's report. But Mr. Kapi, how much of an additional layer of information or, as it were, understanding will the chief examiner's report bring to what you, WAEC, you put out already about the 2025 WASSCE results?
This report would simply indicate to us the weaknesses of the candidates and then their strengths as well, and areas where teachers would have to reinforce their teaching. So the chief examiner's report may not necessarily tell us that, okay, this time they did independent work. With the scripts that we have that we are scrutinizing and which are as a result of the discoveries made by examiners in the course of marking, we would say that people still tried to cheat. I mean, it's for me, I find it part of our human society where people know there are rules, but they also try, to bend them to suit themselves.
Indeed, and that's why you are there as well, together with the GES, to make sure it doesn't happen. But Mr. Tanko, you've seen the GES report. They've responded to something related to your concerns about teacher welfare. They say it's not true that they cancelled any allowance due you, the teachers, as claimed by the former Education Minister, Dr. Yawase Duchum, when he interacted with some media houses. And he says that influenced teacher motivation and so on. But they address other matters in this statement as well. What's your own diagnosis of where the problem really came from and what should be the thinking going forward?
Our educational institutions, in particular the SHS level and the basic education, they are heavily challenged. We cannot run away from that. We cannot run away from that. And I, for the past 10 years, I have been saying one only thing, that we need a dedicated fund for our basic education in Ghana. I repeat, we need a dedicated fund for our basic education in Ghana. Look, we cannot be running an educational system like we are in the intensive care unit where every day everything is on credit. When you want to eat food, we eat it on credit. When you want to do anything, you want to go and buy perishables, you do it on credit. Almost everything is on credit. We don't have any sustainable source of income to run our basic education. It is a problem. There is no sustainable source of income in running basic education in Ghana. And it is a huge deficit and gap which we all must agree to resolve. If we do not do that, it will not help anybody. Look, we will continue to have some of these problems because everything about education is run on credit. Everything. When you want to buy food today, the schools will have to go and credit the food so that later government will come and pay. If you even want to get any TLM today, you have to go and credit the thing, and then later government. For how long are we going to be running an educational system like this? It will not work. I have heard about people talking about allowances for teachers and all that. Look, currently at the SHS level, the teachers are working 24/7, non-stop, because of the double track. They are working 24/7 non-stop because in the morning, you will work from morning up to about 3 o'clock. You are a teacher. And between 3 to 5, if you wake up to 4, between 4 to about 6, you will sit down and mark.
I see. And very, very serious concerns that you raised there, Mr. Tanko. And this is one that even beyond this BEC, the WASSCE results, has to engage the minds of the regulators and then also persons who are taking hold of our education sector. Thank you very much for joining us. That's Thomas Musa Tanko, is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. Now, let's go back briefly to these petitions that have been forwarded to the Chief Justice by the President for the removal of the OSP and then also the heads of the Electoral Commission, as has been outlined by law. We went through it earlier. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's joining us on Zoom right now for a quick conversation on this. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Hello, lawyer, can you hear us? Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Just quick one. Lawyer Martin Pebo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Mr.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, you're not alone, but one of the persons who have been asking for the head of the special prosecutor because of, now it's public knowledge, the reasons why you believe that he should go. But then earlier today, they put out what they have achieved over the period. I mean, outlining a number of things, including some $2 million they stopped in the MIF, that's the Minerals Income and Investment Fund, and others. It doesn't convince you in any way that they are on track doing a good job?
At all. It doesn't convince me that Kissie Jabin is doing any good job, okay, with the OSP. Now, what they have tabulated in the first place, let's point out that it's a diversionary tactic. Yeah, that's diversionary tactic. They know that today the major news has been that 3 petitions have been presented to the president for the removal of Kissie Jabin, which petitions the president has forwarded to this Chief Justice Bafo Boni, and I have also been mentioning that I'll be presenting my petition. So it's been a very bad day for them. So it's a way to divert our attention that's caused them to publish this achievement. Just last week, they published their end of year report, right? Where they even stated they had to eat humble pie, okay? In respect of the $2.7 billion Sami Darko had claimed that the office had saved us in respect of the SML matter. But Manasseh fact-checked them, and then now they had to backtrack in the report that they did. So the whole thing is that it's been a very bad couple of weeks for Kissi Ejaben and Sami Darko. So they are doing everything within their power to try to change the narrative.
Okay. Well, Council, appreciate you for this. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see how the coming days will look like on this and the path that these petitions will take. Martin Bebo is private legal practitioner. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back, there's more. Stay with us.
Why are more and more professionals choosing Flamingo Paint?
As an interior decorator, I aim for that beautiful